sunflower oil, or margarine that's made from monounsaturated fat or polyunsaturated fat. Because these two groups of fat are what we call unsaturated fat. So in terms of heart protection, okay, they are different from saturated fat. They don't tend to increase your cholesterol, so they are a little bit better, okay? But when I say they are a little bit better, it doesn't mean that you can just go ahead and drink your oil, okay? Because don't forget, they all have calories, okay? They all contain calories, so you still need to control the quantities. Now, we all know about omega-3 or omega-6 fatty acids or omega-3 fats. So what is omega-3 and what is omega-6? Are they part of the saturated fat? Are they part of the unsaturated fat? Or are they a different kind of fat, like made by somebody else in the lab? So what is omega-3? Okay, basically both omega-3 and omega-6 fat are what we call the polyunsaturated fat. They're part of the polyunsaturated fat. These two groups of fat are very special because we call them essential fats. You can't get it, you can't make it yourself. You have to get those fats from the food. Okay, so that's why we call it essential, because we don't know how to make it. We have to get it from the food. So it's essential. You must have it in your diet. And these two groups of fats are very special because they are not just essential, but they also give you a lot of health benefits. For example, omega-3 fatty acids. A lot of studies over the years, over the last 20, 30, 40 years, actually show that they help to protect our heart health, okay? They help to actually make sure that our blood flows more smoothly in our blood vessels. They support healthy heart functions. They also help to lower down your blood cholesterol, your blood triglycerides. So it's a kind of fat that you would like to include, in your diet. So where can you find the omega-3? I think some of us probably, have heard that fish is good. Okay, why is fish good? Because you actually get the omega-3 fats from fatty fish. So, for example, if you like to eat salmon fish, you like to eat tuna fish, you like to eat your mackerel fish, good news, because the fat that you get, when you steam, for those who like to cook salmon fish, you can see that even when you steam salmon fish, you don't add any oil to the salmon fish, but you just steam them. You can actually see oil oozing out, right? Okay, don't worry. No need to go and remove those oils because those are the good ones. Those are the omega-3s. You can have it, okay? But of course, I'm not asking you to go and eat the whole salmon fish, okay? That would be a bit too much. So you just have the right quantity, which is about, 100 grams or so, 100 to 120 grams. Besides fish, you can also get omega-3 from all kinds of cooking oil or different, kinds of nuts and seeds. For example, your peanuts, your walnuts, those also give you a lot of omega-3, and also vegetable oil, okay? So those are the sources of omega-3 fatty acids or omega-3 fats. In terms of omega-6, omega-6 is also very unique because it not just improves your immune function, but at the same time, a lot of studies also show that it actually help to promote heart health. In fact, the American Heart Association, which is based in the US, even recommend that we should have at least 5% to 10% of your calorie allowance coming from the omega-6 fatty acids or omega-6 fat, which is roughly about 12 grams to 22 grams of fat every day for majority of us. So you might want to ask me, so I take 12 or actually I take 22, so how much, is my allowance? Your allowance basically based on your calorie allowance, based on your body weight, based on your physical activity level. So it really depends. But anywhere between, let's say 12, to 20 should be the right amount that will give you the heart protection that you need, okay? Now, talk about the omega-3, the good ones, the omega-3 and the omega-6. Let's come back and talk about something called trans fat. How many of you have heard of trans fat? I think many of you. I think, if you read newspapers, if you read the Straits Times forum page, you will probably see trans fat issues coming up every other month, okay? There's a lot of debates, a lot of questions about trans fat. So what is trans fat? Is it really so bad? Yes or no? Okay, let me tell you what is trans fat. Trans fat is actually a kind of fat, okay, that is actually an unsaturated fat. But it's very unique because they have a different three-dimensional structure compared with other kinds of, like the cis form kind of fat. And yes, we actually can get some trans fat from the natural, natural food sources. You can actually find a little bit of trans fat in, let's say, full cream dairy products, but only very little amount. What the most of the time, Singaporeans get our trans fat actually from what we call the margarine, the shortenings, the bakery products, because the margarine that you use for bakery products, the margarine that you put on your bread is actually created through this process called hydrogenation. Okay, hydrogenation is actually a process that converts a so-called liquid oil, can be any oil, can be canola oil, can be olive oil, but oil is liquid at room temperature, okay, and they are not very stable. So they have to convert them into something that has a longer shelf life, that is a bit more stable, so they can be used in the bakery products. So how to actually convert them into a more stable condition? That is what we call through the hydrogenation process. But unfortunately, when you actually convert them into so-called the hydrogenated margarine, you actually transform them into something called trans fat. Trans fat has very similar property as saturated fat, unfortunately. Okay, so that is why when you actually consume a lot of trans fat, your cholesterol would also tend to become higher. So that is why the World Health Organization actually come up with a recommendation. They actually recommend that maybe for most of us, we should try to limit our trans fat. Try not to have more than 2 grams per day. How much is 2 grams? Only 2 grams, very little, right? Let me tell you how much is 2 grams. How many of you like to eat curry puff? Huh? Yes or no? Wow, Dr. Lee is raising the hand, Okay, let me tell you. 1 curry puff has about 1 gram of trans fat. Okay, so if you eat 2 curry puff, that is how many grams already? That is 2 grams. That is your whole day's allowance. Okay, so good luck to you. For those who really like to eat curry puff, good luck. Maybe you should consider cutting down, okay? So it's very important. Try to control the trans fat. So that is why, even though margarine has much less saturated fat when compared with butter, you should still control because they are very high in something called trans fat, which would also tend to increase your cholesterol level. So it's very important that we try to cut down the fat. Okay, you can have the fat, but you must make sure that you just have the right quantity, not overdoing it. So how much is considered as acceptable? How much is considered as still within the healthy range? Well, usually if your intake of fat is between what we call 20 to 30% of your total calorie allowance, it's fine. No nutritionist will go and bother you. They will say, okay, continue, just do whatever you want to do, just continue. So 20 to 30%. And out of this total fat allowance, we hope that 1/3 should be, or at least less than 1/3 should be from saturated fat. And the majority, which is 2/3, of your total fat intake, should come from the better sources, which is your, unsaturated fat. Now, what do you think are this 20 to 30%? And do you think we Singaporeans are eating the right amount of fat, or eating too much, or we actually eat less than that? What do you think? You are a Singaporean. What do you think about you yourself? Do you think you are eating more than enough? Yes, let me show you, okay? What is considered as enough, okay? In order to find out how much fat you are allowed to have, you need to understand how many calories you are allowed to have, because your fat allowance really depends on how many calories you are allowed to have every day. So I'm just going to share with you this very simple chart, okay? They tell you, okay, this actually fat allowance is based on your age group, based on your gender, and also based on your activity level, okay? Let me use the laser pointer here. Okay, so imagine you are a woman, okay, between, let's say, 30 to 60 years old. If you look at your activity level, which means that, you look at what you're doing on a daily, regular basis, you know that you're not really spending too much time exercising, your activity level is what we consider as light, then you know that your fat allowance is only just about 57 grams. So remember that number, for most of the ladies sitting in this room, I believe that is roughly about 57, okay, maybe some of you, 50 grams. For the guys, for the gentlemen in this room, okay, it can be anywhere from 69 to, let's say, about, 68. So roughly about there. So now let's look at a typical Singaporean. Eating a typical Singaporean diet. How much fat we are getting. You like to have roti prata for breakfast? Every slice of roti prata with egg that you eat, you get 14 grams of fat. Every time I look at this chart, my blood pressure goes up. You know why? Because I actually allow my son to eat roti prata once a month. Because he's a teenager, he's growing, he wants to eat roti prata. I say, okay. So once a month, especially on a Sunday, usually it's Sunday morning, he will go out and eat roti prata. But the problem is, every time he eats roti prata, he doesn't just eat one slice. You know how many slices he eats? Yes! 15-year-old boy, of course, 3 is minimum. 3 times 14, that is how many grams of fat? 42 grams of fat, just from roti prata, okay? So every time I see, him eating roti prata, my blood pressure goes high, okay? So if you eat just one slice, 14 grams. Lunchtime, okay, let's say eat Hong Kong wonton noodle, dry version, you get 23 grams of fat. Afternoon, neither must have your curry puff, okay? Another 16 grams of fat. Can you imagine? Just one curry puff, you get 16 grams of fat. When I prepared this presentation, I double-checked the number, I went to the HPB website, I double-checked, triple-checked, make sure that I didn't give you the wrong information. Really, I'm not lying, really 16 grams of fat from just one curry puff. You don't feel like you're getting 16 grams of fat, right? That is the amount you get from curry puff. By the way, 16 grams of fat is roughly about 1 tablespoon of oil in that little tiny curry puff. Then at night, most Singaporeans eat out, right? Okay, so let's say dabao fried rice. That is not your home kind of, homemade kind of fried rice. Maybe if, you fried rice at home, it will be healthier because you use less fat. But if you actually buy back dabao from hawker center or food court, this is the amount of fat that you'll be getting, 33 grams. So in total, you'll be getting at least 86 grams of fat in one day. And that's assuming you only eat one piece of roti prata. And I know many of you don't just eat one piece, okay? And I'm not even counting the fat that you get from your, your biscuits, your kueh, your ice cream. And for those who like to eat supper, I didn't even include the supper here. I'm trying to be nice, okay? So imagine 86 grams. Which, if you're based on 2,000 calorie kind of daily energy, or calorie allowance, that is almost like 39%. So for the ladies, you still remember how many grams of fat you're supposed to have? How many grams? 50 to 57, right? But if you eat like this guy, you are getting 86. That's really high. And the worst part is most of the fat that you get from roti prata, from your fried rice, from your curry puff, are the wrong kind of fat. They are either trans fat or they are saturated fat. Okay, so I'm not just looking at the total fat, I'm also looking at the type of fat. The bad one, not the good one. Okay, so it's important. We must make some changes. That's why I really feel that all of us, I'm not asking you to change your lifestyle in one day, but take smaller steps, take some steps, change a little bit, okay? For example, for those who like to eat chicken skin, do you have to eat chicken skin? Can you occasionally remove the skin? Especially when you're eating your chicken rice. I know I have actually one patient who eats chicken rice almost every single day. He came to see me after his bypass surgery, okay? He spent a lot of money on his bypass surgery and the cardiologist sent him to see us. So I said, Uncle, you must cut down, you must cut down on chicken rice. How to cut down? Cannot lah. I've been eating like that for the last 30 years. So we negotiated. It's like a negotiation going on between me and him, okay? So instead of 6-7 times a week, I cut down to 5 times. And after that, I also negotiate. I say, 5 times, okay lah, 5 times. Maybe out of 5 times, 3 times can be chicken skin, chicken rice, everything can. But 1 time out of 5 times, remove skin can or not? Very reluctant. So I say, don't forget, you just had your bypass surgery. Oh, okay. I said, okay, the second time, change to white rice. How to eat chicken rice with white rice? Might as well don't eat. I say, bypass surgery? Okay. See? So after 1 hour, 1.5 hour negotiation, we cut down to 5 times. And out of 5 times, only 3 times the real chicken rice. Okay? But to me, it's already a big step, already a good improvement, right? It's going to take this uncle a long time to go and remove chicken rice from his diet. And I think it's almost impossible. But for me, as a dietitian, drop from 7 times to 5 times. Okay, it's already a good change. Okay, we should continue to encourage them to do that. Okay, in terms of dairy products, as I